Welcome back. I'm glad you're with us here on Morning at NTV. The stakes are high because the electorate or constituents in Kawempe North are going to the polls today. The choice is one that should land at least one of the 10 candidates the slot to be the next member of Parliament. Sarah Birete, the Executive Director of the Center for Constitutional Governance, asked a fundamental question before we went into the break. Should we abandon elections and do something else? Because, according to her, the nature, the manner, and the circumstances under which electoral processes are being undertaken is not worth writing home about. She will be espousing a little bit more on that, but allow me to bring on board the other panelists who are with us today. We also have updates that will be coming through from the various polling areas within Kawempe North as our team is on the ground. That should be coming through as soon as we are ready. But Mr. Anderson Burora, let me come to you for this particular question. You are a former resident city commissioner. What we are seeing right now is a case of a constituency that ideally doesn't have an RCC or doesn't operate under a DPC, having at least 70 DPCs apparently, and more than 15 RCCs roaming around, manning operations. If you don't mind, take us through what could be happening right now in light of the operational mechanisms, if your time in Rubaga is anything that could offer us a view into this whole process.
Thank you. And, good morning to the viewers. I don't know if you have had time to go through the constituency ever since the heat of the by-election started.
I have.
And what have you seen?
I've seen heightened scenarios and overly enthusiastic residents.
Thank you. And that's what happens in every election. You see, such election is kind of unique that it attracts the attention of almost every political player. And everyone wants it by hook or crook. But also because it gives a signal. If you saw the rallies of NUP, almost all the MPs in the country for the NUP have been there. To do what? To rally support, to give advice, to give whatever reason that can give them a victory. Secondly, Kawempe North and also Kampala is the center of politics. How it starts can dictate what might happen in the future. But also you have two groups that have been trying to show cause that they are ready for anything. The NUP group is showing signs that we have enough support, we have enough machinery, we have enough militia, backed, I don't know with what, but we are ready. And also there is a group that is saying, there can't be too many in the same crowd, or same home or whatever, two bulls in the same crowd. One has to emerge in all circumstances. So I think DPCs are not there to vote. They are not adding their population, either sides, either to add on the votes, but to control the heat you are talking about. I wanted that to come from you so that the viewer may know that actually it's not business as usual, but there is some kind of tension that once left. I saw on one of the handles of the on one of the media platforms on X, showing one party that is trying to chase away the other. Don't come here. Here we are for this. Here we are. If don't come. Actually, this happened somewhere. I want to mention. I was driving. Coincidentally, I met a rally of someone and I was driving through, and actually if police was not there, and I was also asking, why is police moving closely on rallies, on groups that are doing processions? And if police was not there, a group, one of the supporters jumped off the car, went and was defacing some of the posters of another candidate. So in the process, the other party also had supporters around who came in response. Why are you defacing our posters? And it's from that place that actually police intervened, and one group was made to go on the other. So you can see that the security, most especially the DPCs, are not there to add on the population of voters. They are there to control the heat, but also the build-up. That is what went wrong. There was something missing that happened that should have not happened, like Sarah said.
What's that?
Like, you see, provocation comes in so many ways. I can provoke you in a manner that no one else has seen, but apart from you that I have provoked. And at this point, I want to ask the security forces to study the atmospheres at stake. Studying, I mean, these provocations are meant, they are deliberate. Some of these disobediences you are seeing, they are deliberate. And actually that's why I want to caution, most especially my brothers and sisters in the media also, to study some of these moves. Like the incident that happened yesterday. I don't know why those people are not arrested for trespass. Don't push them. Close the gate, call police, accuse them for trespass. This is a private property. You have no right to enter anyone's property that is private. Whether there is a criminal something taking place,
Suspected criminality,
you have no right. And you see, that is a provocation. What if you entered and there were dogs roaming around, they beat you, you are now suffering, you are trying to treat rabies. What if you found another group there that is doing something, you suspected, you are not sure. So some of these things are deliberate. And you see, I provoke you, I am weaker than you, anything, any action taken against me, I will have the sympathy.
Okay.
So I think the election, I wish the best may emerge the winner today, but I'm not going to be part of those who are going to say that according to what is on social media is what I suspect, is what I expect to see. Like my sister Sarah here, I am very sure she knows the winner. If that winner doesn't come through, she's going to come here and start saying, hello, you see they rigged.
I think that is blackmail. I refer to instances happening in election. I do not.
But you did. What I am.
Is this from?
What I am just. I withdraw.
She's not the electoral commission.
I withdraw. What I didn't see her say is, how come when these people I suspect that she supports do what is provocative, she doesn't come out to condemn. She doesn't come out to say this and this is happening, but you should have done it in this way. You see, much as come on. Let me finish my point.
Information.
Let me first let her respond to what I have finished. No, but you want to give information to me to respond to you, but you don't want to get my point.
Mr. Aurora, I made a submission.
Let me finish my submission.
No, because you are engaged in blackmail. Let me
finish.
Allow that information to come through. Allow that information to come through.
I made, Mr. Aurora, I made a submission. I quoted the Constitution in detail. I quoted attacks on journalists. I quoted brutality of JAT. For you, should I ask you why you are not condemning the masked men in election? Because now you are here saying, but you are here saying, I think it supports people. I think, how do you base on that?
I have the information. Now, I don't think there is anything against journalists and security. I don't think it's there. But if journalists are found in the middle of the heat, and this is why I always said this, and I want to say it clearly, you don't have to be in the middle of the fight to get the best shot you want as a journalist.
Why should there be?
That is point number one. Point number two, you don't have to follow whoever goes anywhere just like that. For the case of yesterday, as a journalist, you should know this is wrong, this is illegal. Secondly, I expect all of us here, Sarah, to be impartial. Amongst us, including you, I expect Sarah to be impartial. So if she says that for you, why are you not doing this? Let me also do this. She clearly states.
No, she questions.
No.
Said that, Mr. Burora.
Why you're dismayed at the fact that she appears not to question what is provocation on your part, but she's like, all right, if that is an accusation against me, how haven't you come out to condemn?
That is what I am saying. Me,
I am here. Brutality against the people.
I am here. I may have interests that are partisan. I can't deny that. Or another interest of protecting anything in other interest. But for her, in her capacity in society, once she starts saying that if Brother is doing this, let me also do this. No, then we lack a star amongst us.
All right.
No, she was giving information to me.
Maybe that is your reading of it.
Exactly.
That is your reading of it.
Because the information was mine.
What she said was simply questioning and wondering why you would have such a sentiment.
She was saying
you could actually do.
If you, why not me? Is it what she was saying?
Let me allow gentlemen, brother and Bilete. Brother and Bilete, let me let this off you and her, and of course focus on the fact that we are in Kawempe right now. Simon Mulongo, you are a security analyst, and security in this particular election is something that is lingering large. The government forces are saying everything is at stake, and just like Brora says, the deployment of DPCs is something that is reasonable because the stakes are high. What is your view of all this in light of the election itself? But should it actually be what it is, the kind of actions that are taken by the security forces, whether provocation or not, is it warranted?
Thank you very much.
First of all, good morning, of good viewers, and good to meet my colleagues again after a while. I really wish the people of Kawempe the most success in this very hotly contested election, by-election. And may the winner get it, and I know one of them is going to win. I think before I got to your question, the issue of elections in anywhere in this country is increasingly becoming highly hot.
Okay, Mr. Mulongo, I beg your indulgence. We are doing live reporting, and since we have the opportunity now to go live in Kazo, I'll return to you a little later, but let's go to our correspondent, our reporter, Ijo, who is standing by in Kazo, Angola. Good morning, Mr. Ijo.
Good morning to you, Chris Hegenyi. I'm coming to you live from one of the voting centers here in Kazo, Angola, Kawempe North. Now, at the time we got here, we got when voting materials had just arrived, and what is happening right now is inspection of these voting materials by the EC officials here together with the polling agents of different candidates. And as you can see, voters have already turned up, and voting has not yet started, although in as much as the Electoral Commission says that voting starts as early as 7 a.m., it is 8:20 right now as per my watch, and that means that is about 1 hour and 20 minutes late here in Kazo, Angola. We are yet to find out as to why this did not happen. But then where I'm also stationed, there are so many different voting booths. that shows the huge number of voters here in this particular polling area. I am joined by one of the Electoral Commission assistants here to maybe give us a heads up. What has delayed the voting process that was supposed to start at 7?
First of all, I'm not an Electoral Commission official. I'm an observer on behalf of NUP. Yeah. I'm Honorable Kawempe, just manning this whole parish. These things came in time. I can say they came at around 5:30. They were already here. We are here too. But the polling agents reached late here. Not the polling agent, the presiding officers reached late here. So they said the process went late. But as you can look around, the tension has also been too much, especially in the morning. A lot of guns were brought from different areas. But I can say we have managed to contain them, but as of now. But we don't know what is coming later. So that's why we say we have put security on spot to make sure this process goes on well. People are under tension. They are seeing new people here who are not who are goons from different gyms and different areas. But as I told you, I've put the security on spot to see that we make this exercise free and fair.
Doesn't it worry you that with the process already starting late, and yet the deadline is 4 p.m., doesn't that worry you that maybe some people may be left out from the voting process?
Of course it worries us because they know the turn-up, especially here in these ghetto areas, is too high. People come in big numbers. So they know if we start in late, it will reduce their numbers. It will reduce the voters who would have voted. When it reaches 4 p.m., they will close. So it's tactically. They have done it tactically to make sure that not all voters vote. But we are sure we have called upon all the voters to be here. I think you can see the lines are there. They are waiting in time to see that they can vote. We shall do whatever we can, though the process we are already not okay with it. We see that at least we have been cheated here and there with the tensions of security and what, but we are sure we shall come with the best of it.
Okay, thank you so much, Kalema. Again, I'm going to have to go back to you in studio right now. There is a bit of commotion and security is trying to have these voters all assembled in one place, but I'll keep updating you time and again on what is happening here in Kawempe North. Back to you, Chris, in studio.
Very much, Comrade Ijo there for bringing us up to speed with what's happening in Kazo, Angola. We'll be looking forward for more updates and of course from the rest of the reporters who are stationed in other areas across Kawempe North. The fact that voting is not yet underway is also something that speaks of preparations and maybe the organizational levels that have been rolled out by the Electoral Commission. We'll be talking about that a little bit later, but allow me return to my panelists and allow Simon Mulongo to submit on the aspects of the security context within Kawempe North and your very first submission in as far as this debate is concerned.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to have seen the clip of our colleagues live on the ground, that it is actually peaceful, except that there have been delays, maybe for some reasons. He told us that they're trying to reorganize the voters in a manner that is going to be peaceful. The security deployment is dependent on the reading of and assessment of the security experts within the forces who gather intelligence and therefore determine the nature, the level and the disposition of the security forces. If the police in their judgment have reasons to believe that they require additional manpower, then they will call on the military and other forces to come into play. So in this case, Kawempe being a by-election, by-elections always call for the concerted effort of everyone. Each party brings their best into play. And that's why you find that even that colleague who has just been talking is a member of parliament and from somewhere else, but is remaining a polling station. So that means He said he was from Noop. So Noop has...
Okay, that one is from Bukomansimbe.
Bukomansimbe. So Noop...
He's an observer. He was very categorical about
he's an observer, yes.
He's observing
on behalf of Noop.
Part of Noop.
Yes.
And he has already said he sees people who are not residents there.
How can someone from Bukomansimbe be identifying people from Kazo, Angola?
Yeah, all those are issues to really engage. The issue is that a by-election attracts people from far and wide, people who can contribute their best, because they want to. It is usually a highly heated affair, and as such, the security aspect of it becomes a very heightened matter, and so the deployment levels and the nature of the security personnel, whether they should be armed by batons. I've seen even the military carrying batons, whether they should be armed by rifles or they should just be bare hands. It depends on the dictates of the situation. Okay. So as such, the Kawempe, the run-up has been seen to be very rough. I saw recently when the JAT group, the group that was identified as JAT, roughing up people and so on, and the fighting was by both sides. I could see people attacking them. They could swing some sticks, and the sticks will also be grabbed, and then they will be pulled, and so on. So this is a typical high-staked environment, but we need to see carefully, because I could see some of us are beginning to blame the security personnel. You started with a very critical statement about security handling journalists. Yeah. But you see, philosophers...
we cannot say it any better.
Yes, philosophers have a saying that cause and effect has a cause, and vice versa. We need to interrogate what caused it, who triggered it. Did these people find, for example, people standing on the roadside and doing nothing and being attacked? Did they find them, did they challenge them? Because sometimes people confront the security personnel.
Let me be very clear, especially on that part. I don't want to turn into a panelist on that matter, but because these are my colleagues, the nature of work is not provocative. To train a camera into you as you're going about work that is of civic duty is not, first of all, provocative. But the tendency for some security officers to assume that by capturing them, then you're putting them in bad stead is what they consider provocation. We condemn that, and there is absolutely no acceptable way that that can be let go.
Are there limits to journalists?
I beg your pardon?
Are there limits to journalists or conditions
there are.
for them to?
There are limits.
And do you think there is any breach of that?
Absolutely not. We haven't seen circumstances where a journalist has gone to the extreme in the conduct of their duty to warrant any kind of actions against them.
Because some security personnel do complain the way the journalists overstep their game and begin either filming or taking pictures in a manner that cannot be accepted. I'm not talking about the typical circumstances of Kawempe, but I'm talking in principle. In principle. Yes, including
now in principle
going to privacy, not observing privacy, not observing limits, and then they end up into running battles.
Okay, I'm afraid I didn't want to, but I have to address this. In the incident, for example, yesterday, where we had a journalist beaten, our very own Stephen Kibika, somebody might say this is a private facility that was encroached on by somebody. But we have the leader of opposition in a country approaching a facility. The mere fact that the leader of opposition is going somewhere to do a duty that lies within maybe his mandate, or
how?
Let me tell you this: if the leader of opposition is moving towards any direction and doing something that is newsworthy, that is our thrust. It is not about the fact that, okay, here is the leader of opposition, we don't judge for him that is a private facility or a public facility. It's the leader of opposition going in somewhere, and that is national interest.
I think as long as we have well-written bounds, it doesn't matter whether it's the leader of opposition or not. If he goes into a private arena, then that turns to be something
different. Then we wouldn't be covering war.
Yeah, but war.
Because even war you have
to take the risk. You have to take the risk under the conditions and rules of engagement. So in this case, the leader of opposition does not retain officialdom everywhere and anywhere and any time, because there are limits to it. Just like you said, there are limits to when the media has to punctuate itself.
That is right.
Even where the leader opposition goes, it doesn't mean that it is universal. It cannot be.
I do appreciate that.
You cannot go to his bedroom because he's the leader of opposition. He has gone somewhere, and instead of he should go and film in there.
I do appreciate that.
So
now,
I think
we were acting. Let me be very clear about this, and it should not be something that should either bring the journalists into the spotlight. Just like the security forces sat down, understood what the circumstances are of the situation, the need for deployment. As the media, we are covering an election of high stakes, an election that will see the various parties act at certain points, many times that are not communicated, but impulse. And we are there to cover that as a general aspect of public interest.
I think that it is very important that every incident like this, like these elections, they need to sit and evaluate, to see what went wrong and what went right.
That's right.
And if there are no clarity on rules of engagement that are defined, because sometimes we find ourselves in a crossfire without explanation.
And the blame falls entirely on the security forces.
Well, it can't be entirely, but I'm saying if we do assessment and determine who was right and who was wrong, it enables us to go back to the rules of engagement so that we're able to reshape them and have a common understanding.
Does it offer you any kind of perspective to understand that in most cases the security forces are on the wrong in this? And not
I wouldn't just make a blunt judgment.
I have some information for Honorable Simon Mulongo. Freddie Mbide, who is a journalist with the NTV and KFM, was beaten at Wandega police station, which is a public place. He had gone to follow up information on people that had been arrested on nomination day. Did he trespass on anybody's property?
He didn't.
No,
well, you're putting him on the spot over circumstances.
It's bottom of the hour.
Details?
It's bottom of the hour.
Whose details I don't have.
Let me go for the break.
And you want me to make a judgment?
I appreciate the fact that you admit you don't have the details. Let's go for a break. When we return, the conversation does continue, and of course the updates will still be coming through from our team that is covering the Kawempe North by-election. Stay with us. That is going on behind the scenes, and as we return on air, we are of course coming to you in light of the Kawempe North by-election. Voting is expected to be underway in most areas, that is the parishes that have been stated. And for those that may not know, Mperere, Komamboga, Kawempe 2, Kanyanya, Kazo, Kawempe 1, Chikaya, Baise 1, as well as Chebando are the various parishes that form Kawempe North. And the total number of people that are expected to go to the polls this particular 13th day of March is in the region of 199,000. Yeah, that is an increment from 2021 that was 164,000. And like we have stated earlier, the stakes are high. Our reporters have spoken about the fact that some polling stations, the process is not underway on account of delays, but we also see a relative calm in light of what has been happening. We do hope that that stays as is in order for this process to end smoothly without drama and incidents at the end of the day. Let me return to my panelists. Sarah Birete, you had the context within which Simon Mulongo says some of these actions are taken or shouldn't even be undertaken, especially by journalists. I don't want to dwell much on the treatment that we get from other actors, especially state actors, because to do so would be a digression from what everybody else knows. Many times journalists find themselves in line of fire, unwarranted actions by the security forces, and to begin to put us on the spot to explain why we should be able to notice very quickly why we should not go here and instead go there, it is to basically fail us in our job. Because for us, what the public needs to know, they have to know. So when we see what they need to know, we go there. Simple as that.
I draw comfort from the members of parliament when they discussed the issue of JAT misconduct in the by-elections, in the elections, and the whole violence against opposition and journalists. Most of the people who presented in parliament were actually in NRM MPs. They condemned the actions. I draw comfort that we still have that voice of reason from the circles of NRM who understand that media works for the common good and that there are laws that govern security agencies in their conduct, especially in keeping law and order. Even in situations of war, there are rules of engagement that govern war. So at least I will ask to differ from what my co-panelists are saying on this matter and draw comfort from the MPs that really condemned these acts. And it is wrong. Members of the fourth estate work for the common good. They don't work for any particular side. And their job is to inform the public of what is happening. When you look at the issues of breach, misconduct, media has organs that govern them in terms of ethics. We have the Media Council, we have UCC, we have the National Broadcasters Association, we have the Journalists Association. If anybody, a member of the public, an actor, a state agent, feels that journalists have breached their conduct, they know where to go for those complaints.
Just like
you don't go to brutalize people in a democratic society because you think they are in breach. That is like jungle law. Uganda is governed under the constitution.
Mr. Broda, I know this conversation can go as much as we would want to debate it, but allow me just shift our attention to how the election might be won, for example. And this is down to the fact that it wasn't really an issue-based campaign because of the contestation that we all know. Hardly did we see candidates speak about what needs to be done in order to better the condition of the people within Kawempe North constituency. But in light of what is happening, the numbers tell, and if the article here that has been written by David Walugembe is anything to go by, the constituencies that are likely to deliver the victories are apparently big four, where if one person performs poorly in those ones, Chebando, Kazo, Angola, we've already seen, as our reporter stated, but the process there hasn't actually begun. Is there anything that could tilt numbers for anybody right now, or we are already pretty sure the two front runners, National Resistance Movement and the NUP, could likely emerge as the winner? I'm asking this question. I want the independent observer in you.
Okay, before that, I want to say it correctly and categorically clear.
About
beating people, security beating people, does not in any way add support to any candidate. And it is not a commission of the National Resistance Movement that its way of campaigning and fronting issues is by denying others space. It has actually shrinked more the spaces of NRM.
How is that?
And I want this to go home in the minds of the commanders of the security forces. We can use other alternatives.
Great.
And this is where I want to call upon the Secretariat of the NRM to come out and engage security forces on behalf of Uganda, because it is the ruling party, to advocate for spaces of everyone. Because in that way, if they don't, they give their candidates hard time to campaign and to get votes. if they don't engage security forces to stop those kind of operations. Now, I expect the Kawempe North elections not to, like I said earlier, at the moment you can't tell who the winner is. And I don't want to delve much into it, but I see, according to what I have been observing, I have tried myself not to get involved in that election, though it is in my neighborhood, but I see likely this election might take a twist we don't all expect. At the end of the day, we expect some incidents that I cannot tell, but we can predict in our minds. And this is going to have a way that whoever comes up as a winner in this election will come out chest thumping and also trying to show that we still have the support. Or you didn't expect us to have support, and the contestations are going to be there on either sides. All I want to ask is that us as supporters, as members of parties where we come from, our role, our biggest role is to vote. If you have cast your vote, you have done your part. Don't follow your vote by also punching others or by going to fight into where you think you should offer another help. There will have made it worse, and we don't want to see more bloodshed in this election. We don't want to see violence mounting every now and then, because at the end of the day there are those who get affected. Yeah, no doubt. There are those whose businesses, whose lives are disrupted. You see, it is so disruptive. Livelihoods taken. And for the journalists, I want to caution, don't get into the fights of the two bulls. There is one who is trying to prove himself, there is another one who is trying to show you cannot prove yourself. Read that in their minds, the two groups that are confronting. This has nothing to do with NUP and NRA. I can stop at that. Interesting there. Simon Mulongo, the polarization is evident, and if it is a litmus test of what is coming in 2026, Kampala is going to be one theater, political theater, in that general election. It is well understood that whoever takes Kawempe North today will have a huge leverage for Kampala ahead of 2026. Is it not?
No, it is not. I want to agree with my brother, the city commissioner. You remain that. There are many factors that we need to take into account. The by-election usually is highly contested because of the level of attention and participation, and resources that pour in are much more higher than if it's an ordinary election. And as such, I don't think that the outcome can be said to sustain up to the next or through the next general elections. I've seen some of our communities, once you're elected, say in a by-election, and after 1 year and the election comes by, would say, at least that one has eaten. Let's give chance to somebody else. Or this person has not delivered. Has not delivered. We elected him. We suffered here. They don't even take into account the fact that one would have just been barely 1 year. So there are many circumstances that will make this election not necessarily a blueprint for the next general elections. I also want to add that yes, of course we had some discussion about the media and how people are mistreated out there. It is true that nobody should be mistreated. That is right. Whether you're a citizen, whether you're a media reporter, or whether you're a candidate or just a voter, we will have a civic environment, a peaceful environment. I've had a lot of calls from the Electoral Commission, from government, and from other parties where people have called on the voters and the circumstances in Kawempe to be as calm as possible. And I'm happy it is this morning. so far, and I hope it remains so. So it's regrettable that there are incidents like this. And as I said, seriously, there is need to have engagement after such events to be able to grind further into the rules as to what it is. What are the no-go areas? What are the expectations of each party? Because I know we have rules of engagement. I know that there are laws and so on. But you see, you can never tease everything to the dot and to the T. Some new situations emerge, and so on. So I think that I would urge you, through you and the media houses, that engaging the police, engaging the government, and engaging Electoral Commission on assessment of what could have happened after such an event is very important. Because sometimes we just close the door and say it's over and we go home. And
then we wait for the next
election, then we have another misunderstanding.
We find ourselves facing deja vu situations. Salavidete, talking of introspection after this particular election, things that ought to be looked at, what could change. This by-election comes very close to 2026 general election, and there are some observers out there who are questioning the cost, that is financial in terms of resources, but also the cost to the country's political capital, so to say. Isn't the time too little? Is there a need for either a reform to say an election can be bounced because we are close to another election, and maybe resources are rechanneled? I don't know how that discussion can come through, but there is need for that. Because if, for example, an MP, God forbid, dies in August, and then...
No, there's a timeline.
There's a timeline. 4 months?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months.
6.
Yeah, it's also
so
very short.
If something happens to a sitting MP or any elected leader 6 months to general elections, there will be no by-election in that period.
Under 6 months to the general election.
Yeah. So there's a timeline. I want to respond to the issue of, you know, when you talk about Kawempe violence, the violence in Kawempe North by-elections, and the two, you know, big camps of NUP and NRM, one might easily think that there has been confrontation between the supporters of the two parties. So I want to bring out to the fact that I have not seen any confrontation
between the supporters,
between NUP and NRM. The confrontation is only by security, or caused by security. There are no fights between any supporters of any political party. There are 10 candidates in the race. I have not seen any camp fighting another. So I think that is important to note, that if it wasn't for the acts of security, there would be no violence to speak about in this by-election, because the supporters, the camps, the candidates are not fighting, are not confronting each other, are not clashing on venues, nothing. It's just security against opposition, against media. And I thought I should bring out that aspect. When you go to the other aspects of Kawempe by-election, for example, what do we think is at stake? Personally, I think that given that NRM has no MP in Kampala, there is at least one independent and the rest are NUP MPs. So I think, yeah, because the Nseleko is an independent for Kampala Central. Previously he was NRM, but this time he ran as an independent. So I think that among the issues that are making it a high-stake election is the need to have presence, political presence in Kampala.
For the governing party. For
the ruling party. When you look at NUP on the other hand, NUP is the incumbent party, which is also desirous of retaining their seat as a party. Yeah, but there are also other contenders, the several independents, I think 2 independents from NUP, 1 independent from NRM, and then other parties. So when you look at that and why the tension, so when you see such stakes of where a party wants to make a statement that they can actually win Kampala, and then you have another party which is saying this is our seat and we are defending our seat, then what brings the security? Because as much as I've said that, there has been no incident of supporters, of candidates, of parties fighting. So the question we should ask is, what brings security and the high security interest in Kawempe? You started with the comments that all RDCs have been called. I don't know which organ has called them.
No, the other day we were speaking to Mr. Fred Bamwine. He's a commissioner in the President's office.
It's the President's office that called them.
He said, and he was on the show, that it was warranted that the various RCCs or RDCs be called in to help.
Help what?
What
aspect?
Existing infrastructure.
Because why I'm asking?
To deal with what?
Why I'm asking? Why I'm asking? If you read our constitution and the electoral laws, there are two entities, state entities that have a duty in elections. It's electoral commission and police.
And the police.
And police comes in elections under the guidance of electoral commission. Previously, we have had situations where police need support. They recruit police election constables.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the two official organs in elections. So when you say you've summoned RDCs, and we all know that RDCs, as much as they are public servants, the majority of them are partisan. So then I ask myself as an actor, in what capacity and what is their role?
Maybe as we wrap this up, a former RCC can speak on the aspect of partisan or not. Why is it that all RDCs and RCCs seem to act in the interests of the governing national resistance movement, even when their actions could go otherwise, or should go otherwise?
RDCs are, much as they are public servants, but they serve interests of the state.
They serve the president.
The interests of the state. The state is much bigger than the president.
It would be said, the same would be said,
but also
the civil servant in the ministry.
But also they act not within, because the presidency is not anywhere stated in the electoral machinery of operation. So even if they are more of a support team, virtually.
Interesting.
So I don't know why Sarah would be.
Interesting.
I don't know why Sarah.
They are rigging the machinery.
Because when you are seeing where our brother was in Kazo, he said they have brought the materials. They have been inspected. Nothing is wrong. Nothing wrong has been brought to the station. So if the RDC was there to rig, maybe they would have brought pre-ticked ballot papers, or even a box full of ticked ballot papers. So where have you seen the RDC? But also, even if the RDC became as an observer, like Kayemba Solo was there, what would be wrong? If he came as an observer, no, I am here as an observer. Is there a law? For
the NRM?
Is there a law? No, even the institution. Any institution can nominate.
Observers are accredited.
Already gazetted.
Yeah, they can.
They are not part of them.
They can be. Even if they are gazetted, is there a law that can ban me from being gazetted as an observer?
No, the exercise is already complete and they are not on the list.
So you should have. No,
they are not on the list as observers. Yes, it was released yesterday.
All right.
They are not.
So
I'm afraid we are running out of time.
Sarah keeps taking my time and I never interrupting her. So I am.
You have 30 seconds.
Yes, it's okay. So the whole thing is, what have they done? What have they influenced that we can see? So let's not accuse them that they have been spotted. They have done ABCD for as long as they have not interrupted with the process of the election. They have not come to express any sort of anything that is not warranted. I don't see any problem with it.
Interesting there.
Drama in elections happens in the evenings.
Yes. Wrap this up for us.
Yeah, first of all, before I wrap up, I want to debunk the argument that it is the security who causes insecurities. and they're not even necessary.
Now, to be very specific, if security forces don't come in many times, order prevails.
I don't know what you mean by come in.
It's until they act.
Mr. Moderator, give me a chance and I make my point.
Please.
The security is of paramount importance. And if you see a situation calm as it is now, it means somebody has suffered to have it calm as it is. If we removed security personnel in an area in such a highly contested environment, you will see what happens. And we're here talking calmly because there is security somewhere that has kept us very calm here. I want to say incidences that happened where there is an overaction by security personnel, an incident, it should not be used to say that you can rule out the necessity for security. Let's never say that. And my wrap-up is that I think Uganda has done so well. We've come incrementally well in terms of electioneering. We started with a very small number of voter registration and voter turn-up. It has gone on increasing so much with time, and that shows the degree of enthusiasm for people to turn up and vote for the people they support. And for Kawempe North, may the best win. Whatever reasons, whatever circumstances, I want to say that the Electoral Commission has done it very well. It is not easy to organize election in such circumstances, but they've done it well, and I believe that the best candidate for somebody will take the day.
Ambassador Simon Mlongo, many thanks for that analysis, and many thanks to you too. Sarah Virete, the Executive Director of the Center for Constitutional Governance, and many thanks to you. And Sonbrora, former RCC Ruwaga, for what is no doubt very eye-opening submissions on how the RDCs and other officials do their work. That's it for this edition of Morning at NTV, but do keep it to NTV for updates on what's happening today as the electorate in Kawempe North go to the polls to elect a new member of parliament to replace Muhammadi Segirinya, now deceased. Those will be coming up, and more substantial reports in our bulletins, NTV at 1, NTV Akaongezi, as well as NTV Tonight. Do stay with us. I'm Chris Higenyi. For now, it's goodbye. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
NTV, turning on your